Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm Richard and this is Lap of the World. We are back in the garage today with the Gallardo in part 2 of some number of series of videos where we're getting this car ready to go to the track later this year. We're starting out with just some simple fluid changes. In the last video we did an oil change, and today we're going to be changing more oil, this time in the front differential. That's something I thought was common knowledge, but I've gotten the question. So most Gallardos, in fact most Lamborghinis in general since 1990 or so, have been all-wheel drive. The Gallardo is no exception. There have been a few sub-models that are two-wheel drive like the Balboni and later LP 550-2s, but most of them involve four-driven wheels. This car is no exception. The interval for the change on the front differential oil is 15,000 miles. I do not know when it was done last on this car. I would like to know. So that's what we're going to do today, and then we'll be all set. But without any further ado, let's jump right into the job at hand. To accomplish our front diff oil change today, we're going to need the following tools and supplies. Most critically, 1.3 liters of 75W90 weight gear oil. You may ask yourself if you've downloaded the early Gallardo service manual PDF, it calls for 75W50, however, that's a typo, and that weight of oil doesn't exist, and 75W90 is the correct weight. Your usual PPE, because gear oil stinks, a 24mm box wrench. You might be able to squeeze a shallow 24mm socket in there. I'm opting for the wrench just because I don't want to fight the clearance issues. A T30 Torx bit and a chunky 14mm hex bit. Your usual assortment of ratchet handles, extensions, and breaker bars. A torque wrench to put things back together, and of course a drain pan. I'm using a pump system to put the new gear oil in. If you don't have one of those, they are very handy. I've left an Amazon link in the description below if you want to buy your own. But otherwise, let's get started. As with the oil change, the first step is to get the car off the ground, something we've accomplished today a little bit easier than we did in that video, thanks to my lovely family who surprised me with a quick jack system for my birthday earlier this year. That means I'll actually be able to kind of slide under the car using a creeper rather than just scooting around on the floor, which will be a welcome change. Once the car is up in the air though, the next step will be to remove the highlighted section of undertray here via numerous T30 fasteners. With the fasteners out of the way, the move to drop this tray is to lower the aft section first a little bit to get it clear of the AC drain tubes, and then slide it slightly rearward to get the front end out from on top of the front bumper cover, at which point you should be in the clear. With the under tray now out of the way, we have access to our front diff and the drain and fill plugs on it. Now that we have access to the front diff, the next thing we're going to do is crack open the fill plug, because frankly we want to make sure we can put new oil back in before we drain the old stuff out. With the fill plug now loose but not removed, it's time to position our oil pan, remove the drain plug, and drain the old oil hopefully into it. Fair warning if you haven't done this before, but old gear oil can be rather pungent. Happily, the oil we're draining out looks like it's in pretty good condition, which hopefully means that the diff fluid has actually been changed somewhat on schedule. As we wait on the last few drips of oil to drain out here, I did want to point out one potential pitfall you could run into. You'll note that the copper crush washer has stayed stuck to the transmission case. Now, in the case of the fill plug, it came off with the plug, but as you can see, with the drain plug, it stayed stuck to the case. You do want to make sure to collect those washers, because if you have a double washer situation, that could lead to leaks or worse if not addressed. Speaking of crush washers, of course you're going to want new ones to prevent leaks. There are two different part numbers for the drain and fill plugs, because what is even manufacturing efficiency? I forgot to include these in the what you'll need at the beginning, but I will have fixed that in editing, and I've put the part numbers on the screen as well. Alright, so with our drain plug back in, here is the setup that we have for adding the new gear oil to the car. We've got a drain pan still positioned under the differential, because the way we're going to tell that we've put the sufficient amount in is that it's going to start coming back out, and you want to be able to catch it instead of ending up wearing it. Then to the left of the screen we have a jug. There's a tube running at the bottom of the jug because honestly the body of the pump that I have didn't fit on top of this jug, or didn't fit down into this jug far enough, so I just attached a supplemental tube. Then we have the pump assembly kind of floating in the air off to the right, and then the tube, the outlet tube from the pump, goes over a frame rail. I just routed it over the frame rail to avoid any potential kinking by having it sort of jammed up in a tight space. and it is open. It is open over the top of that frame rail if you want to use that method. And then, of course, the tip of it is kind of barbed into the fill port in the differential. Now we're just going to get on with the pumping. Try not to make too much of a mess. Again, I would advise if you do this, don't wear clothes you like. Keep some paper towels handy. Expect a little bit of drippage and go from there. After clumsily knocking over one of the oil bottles, I adopted a finger hook method to keep control of the bottle while I was pumping the oil into the differential. Again, once the backflow starts, that is your cue to remove the tip of your tube from the fill port. Be careful, as this may uncork a bit more of a flow of oil back out of the fill plug. You do want to wait until that stream slows down to a very slow drip or stops altogether. You do want to be careful not to overfill. Some of the cooling effect provided by the oil is predicated on its ability to flow around the inside of the differential, and if it's too full, it won't be able to flow appropriately. So again, wait until it slows to a drip or stops altogether before putting your fill plug back in and torquing that to spec. Once you have done so though, and your fill plug is in and torqued to spec, the rest is just the reverse of disassembly, and you will have successfully changed the front diff fluid on your Gallardo and saved yourself who knows how much in a shop bill. For us though, that means we are also one step closer to having this car ready to go to the track. I hope you've enjoyed this video or found it informative, if not entertaining. Stick around, because the next thing we're doing on this car will probably be a coolant flush in the next, what I believe will probably be the next video. So stay tuned for that. Again, if you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe and click the bell so you get a notification when I do that upload. But until next time, again, thanks for watching. I'm Richard, this is Lap of the World, and we'll see you all in the next video, if not at the track.